You smile at church on Sunday, but Monday morning, you are a completely different person, and somewhere inside, you know it. That does not make you a fraud beyond saving. It makes you human, and God already sees the gap, and He is not walking away. But that distance between who you perform and who you actually are will cost you more than you think. Today we are looking at 6 signs hypocrisy is quietly hollowing out your faith, and exactly how God closes that gap. Sign 1. You perform for people, but you are starving inside. You know the version of yourself people see at church. The nods, the right answers, the composed face. But alone in your car driving home, something feels empty. That is not conviction. That is hunger. The performance is feeding everyone else's opinion of you while your actual soul gets nothing. And that makes complete sense. You built the version they needed, and now you cannot find the real one underneath it. Matthew 6:1 says this, "Be careful that you don't do your charitable giving before men, to be seen by them, or else you have no reward from your Father who is in heaven." Read that again. No reward. Not a smaller reward. Nothing. Because you already spent it. Start one private act of worship today, one nobody will ever know about. That is where your real faith begins to breathe again. The performance has an audience, but God rewards what is hidden. Sign 2. You judge others for the exact thing you are doing. You have noticed someone else's failure, maybe said something about it, and somewhere in the back of your mind you know, you are carrying the same thing. You just hide it better. That is not discernment. That is a mirror you refuse to look in. Matthew 7:5 says this, "You hypocrite, first remove the beam out of your own eye, and then you can see clearly to remove the speck out of your brother's eye." God does not ask you to be perfect before noticing wrong. He asks you to be honest about your own first. Today, name the beam. Out loud if you have to. The moment you stop pretending it is not there is the moment God can actually move it. Sign 3. Your worship has become noise. You show up, you sing, you give, but something about it feels mechanical, even hollow. You are doing the right things in the right places and feeling almost nothing. That is not spiritual dryness. That is the warning God sent Israel 3,000 years ago. Amos 5:21 says this, I despise your feasts, and I can't stand your solemn assemblies." God was not rejecting His people. He was rejecting the performance that replaced relationship. Worship disconnected from a surrendered life becomes noise. Ask yourself today, is there one area where your obedience has not followed your confession? That is the gap God is pointing at. Close it. Worship is not a building you enter. It is a life you offer. Sign 4. You love people's praise more than God's presence. You have made a decision, maybe stayed quiet about your faith, maybe softened something true, maybe agreed when you should not have, because you were watching how people would react. And the relief you felt when they approved felt better than anything you felt in prayer lately. That is the trade John named directly. John 12:43 says this, "For they loved men's praise more than God's praise." You cannot serve 2 audiences. One will always cost you the other. Today, say one true thing regardless of who approves. Small obedience builds the muscle. Start there. Sign 5. Your private life contradicts everything you say publicly. You know what you confess. You know what you do when no one is watching. And the distance between those 2 things is growing. Paul named this plainly. Titus 1:16 says this, "They profess that they know God, but by their works they deny Him, being abominable, disobedient, and unfit for any good work." That word unfit is not a condemnation. It is a diagnosis. A life divided against itself cannot be used fully. Not because God is angry, because the crack in the foundation limits what the structure can carry. Confess the private contradiction today. That confession is not weakness. It is the beginning of wholeness. Sign 6. Your conscience has gone quiet, and that terrifies you. There was a time when sin felt like something, a weight, a warning. Now it barely registers. Paul described exactly this, a conscience seared like skin that has been burned so many times it has stopped feeling. 1 Timothy 4:2 says this, "Through the hypocrisy of men who speak lies, seared in their own conscience as with a branding iron." That quiet is not peace, it is erosion. And the fact that it terrifies you is actually the most hopeful thing about you right now. Terror means something is still alive in there. That remaining fear is God knocking. Open the door today. Performing religion destroys, but honest surrender restores. Judging others pushes God away, but examining yourself draws him near. Dead worship hollows you out, but sincere devotion fills what nothing else can reach. The gap between who you perform and who you are does not disqualify you, but it will widen if you leave it unaddressed. You did not stumble onto this video. Conviction is not rejection, it is protection. Hebrews 12:6 says this, "For whom the Lord loves, he disciplines, and chastises every son whom he receives." God is not exposing you to shame you, he is exposing you to free you. You are not too far. You are exactly where he can reach you. If something in this video cracked something open, type one word in the comments right now. Just type, "real," because that is what God is calling you back to. Send this to one person who has been performing instead of living. They need to know God sees past the mask and loves what is underneath. And if you want to keep walking toward the version of yourself that does not need a mask, stay with us. There is more for you here. The gap can close. It starts today.